Went with the silver today, or I guess I should say tonight. I've been going to bed a lot earlier these days, but you know, gotta get YouTube videos done somehow. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and thank you for clicking on today's video. So today is honestly pretty sentimental to me. This really only happens every few years when it becomes absolutely necessary. And that's right, I'm ordering a new MacBook Pro. Now, in all seriousness, I wasn't really planning on making this purchase, or at least this exact purchase, but I kind of want to explain to you guys why I'm deciding to upgrade to one of these new M1 chip MacBooks, which one I'm going to be upgrading to, and kind of the exact specs that I'm planning on purchasing. And I'm actually going to order it right now tonight. Now, in case you've been living under a rock, a few weeks ago, Apple had their big presentation, finally announcing their M1 chip. They dropped Intel and they're kind of making everything in-house now for their CPU, their GPU. They basically made this magical chip that is called the M1 chip that is just doing crazy things for performance, battery life, efficiency, and honestly, every single day, more and more stuff is coming out about this chip. More people are testing it out and using it. And this thing is really making me excited for the future. Now, I had my fingers crossed that they were gonna be putting this M1 chip in the 16-inch MacBook Pro, but they are kind of gradually putting this chip into their lineup, so it's not in every single Mac that they make so far. They're starting it out in just the MacBook Air, the 13-inch MacBook Pro, and then also the Mac Mini. So when I saw that they didn't put it in the 16-inch MacBook Pro, I kind of just thought, well, I'm not gonna order it this year. I'll probably just wait till next year whenever they put it into the larger size MacBook Pro. And then I started watching some other YouTubers, and different friends of mine got either a Mac Mini or the 13-inch MacBook Pro, or honestly even the Air. And then I saw some of these performance things, and then also some video editing. Now, pause real quick. I do have a 2018 MacBook Pro. It is a 15-inch. I fully spec'd that thing out. I think it was probably around $3,500 when I got that. It has an i9 processor, 32 gigs of RAM, a terabyte of storage. That thing is an absolute beast, and honestly, it did everything that I possibly needed it to until I recently got the Canon R5. Now, the Canon R5 is the newest Canon camera. It's absolutely amazing, but with this camera, along with some other new cameras that are coming out now, like the Sony a7S III, along with some others, there are these different recording formats or codecs that are recording to a file like H.265, which I know that's a lot of technical stuff, but basically, when you're recording video on some of these newer cameras, the format that it's recording to is basically just really hard for your computer to handle. It's really hard for your computer to process, at least without making proxies first. So it just really slowed down your entire workflow whenever you're editing footage. You'd have to record the video, then you'd have to create proxies for all your footage first, which is not the biggest deal in the world, but when you're trying to turn around videos for clients or doing your YouTube stuff like I am as a side hustle, and you're kind of doing stuff in the evenings or in the mornings before work, honestly, a lot of that time wasted making proxies, which can be hours added to every single edit that I'm doing, it really does make a difference. And so that's why I started looking to maybe upgrade from my 2018 MacBook Pro, especially when this M1 chip was announced, because watching other people's YouTube content, seeing some friends do different tests and things like that, the crazy thing about this M1 chip is it can totally cut through and edit this footage absolutely seamlessly. So honestly, it's pretty simple. That's why I'm going to be upgrading to one of these new M1 chip MacBooks, and I'm going to be getting rid of and selling my 2018 MacBook Pro, which honestly I thought would last me a little bit longer, and it's still an absolutely amazing machine. It's just if I wasn't editing footage on the R5 all the time, I really wouldn't have a problem with it, but I am trying to get into just an R5 workflow. So the fact that every single edit, every single YouTube video I make, I could cut hours out just by not having to make proxies anymore. And actually, I'm going to break even by selling that computer and actually upgrading to one of these new M1 MacBooks because they are so much cheaper. So honestly, it's kind of like a no-brainer. Now, that's really the gist of why I'm upgrading to one of these new MacBooks, but I actually am going to go ahead and order the MacBook Pro right now, and I figured I would show you guys which one I'm ordering, with what specs I'm choosing and everything like that, in case that interests you guys. So I'm actually just going to pull up the Apple Store app on my phone, going to go to Mac. We are looking at the new MacBook Pro 13-inch. And like I said, I really do wish that the M1 chip was in the 16-inch MacBook Pro. That's what I would be going with, but hopefully next year they'll kind of put it into the 16-inch MacBook Pro, maybe with a redesign, a whole new body, maybe they get rid of the touch bar, fingers crossed. And you might be wondering, why am I upgrading to a 13-inch MacBook Pro if I might upgrade to the 16-inch or whatever the next one is next year? And it's kind of plain and simple. Honestly, if I can get at least a year out of a computer like this with the amount of hours and hours that's going to save me, it's an absolute no-brainer for me from a business standpoint. And also, whenever I do upgrade to the next computer, whether it be a 16-inch or whatever it is, I'll be able to sell this one without losing much money at all. So in a year's time, if I can save that many hours of work and lose a few $100s, that is well worth the money in my opinion. So, okay, we got the 13-inch MacBook Pro. Yep, I already know about the M1 chip. So let's just go ahead and hit buy down here, and I'll kind of show you guys what I'm looking at specs wise. So obviously we're going space gray. Honestly, I don't know why you would ever order silver. I do wish they would bring back the black book, like the old school matte black ones. Those were so sick back in the day. And go ahead and scroll down here to the second one with the upgraded storage. We're gonna select that. So customize your 13-inch MacBook Pro space gray. Let's go ahead and scroll down. So this is interesting to me that it only offers 8 gigabytes or 16 gigs of memory. Memory is definitely working a little bit different with the M1 chip compared to older MacBooks, which I'll talk about that more in depth once I actually get the computer, but I am gonna go ahead and bump it up to 16 gigabytes. So we got that 16 gigs of unified memory. The storage, although I'm tempted to go to 1 terabyte, honestly on my MacBook Pro, let me actually check. I'm only using about 300 gigs because I pretty much do everything off of an external drive unless, or you know, other than applications and things like that on my computer. So I don't really need a lot of internal storage, and especially since I know this isn't like my dream computer that I'm gonna try to have for multiple years, I'm just gonna keep it with the 512 SSD. And then honestly, that's it as far as configuration goes. So really, I'm just upgrading the memory and that's it. So that configuration of the 13-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 chip with the upgraded 16 gigs of memory is going to bring us to $1699. So that is still obviously a very expensive computer, but compared to the MacBooks that I'm used to buying, I can think of like the last 3 that I've bought going back to like 2008 or 2009. Each time they were over 3 grand. Each time to have the performance that I needed to be able to do whatever my creative work was, whether it be graphic design stuff, photo stuff, video things. So the fact that I'm getting a computer that is only $1,700 that is going to be able to play back this type of footage, honestly is pretty crazy to me. And also, I am getting rid of my 2018 MacBook Pro, and I'm actually going to break even price-wise. So you can, you know, of course, sell your MacBook on your own, or if you guys are interested, if you scroll up here, you can do it on Apple's website too, obviously, but you can do it in the app. You can actually trade in your Mac right here whenever you purchase a new MacBook. So you can go into the trade-in section, you can enter your serial number, answer some questions, basically like saying if your computer still turns on, does it work, all that type of stuff. You can actually just send your computer straight into Apple and they give you some money towards your new computer. And actually, you might be surprised how much money you could get from their trade-in program if you kind of want to go, I guess I call it the lazy route, if you don't want to try to sell it on your own, because honestly, selling some expensive tech can kind of be sketchy sometimes. But I don't think everyone knows about the Apple trade-in program, so I definitely would suggest checking it out, even if you have some older computers laying around. I actually have a 2012 MacBook Pro that doesn't turn on anymore, and I actually did the Apple trade-in with that serial number just to see what type of money I'd get back for it. I said it didn't turn on or anything like that, and they still were gonna give me, I think it was like $300 some just for something that's collecting dust over there for a very, very old MacBook. So worth a shot, maybe if you guys want to try to trade something in or upgrade to a new computer. So yeah, guys, that's really it. I cannot wait to get my hands on this and do some more testing, especially with my workflow. I'm definitely gonna be doing some tests with the R5 footage and everything like that. And like I said, I really wasn't expecting on making this upgrade, especially coming from a 15-inch MacBook Pro to a 13-inch MacBook Pro. But the fact that I can break even price-wise, getting rid of that one and getting one of these new M1 chip MacBooks, and it's going to save me hours and hours with my workflow, not having to create these proxies and everything like that. I could not be more excited to get this computer. So hopefully it arrives sooner than later. It said, I think like mid-December, so I'll keep you guys posted on that. Definitely stay tuned to the channel and let me know in the comments below what type of videos you guys want to see with this new MacBook. Do you want to see some tests with this camera? Should I really stress test this thing and see what it can do? Let me know what you guys want to see in the comments below. But guys, that's going to be it for today's video. If you stuck around this far into it, I really do appreciate you guys. guys. I'm just feeling kind of rejuvenated, just excited to make content again for myself. And I feel like this computer is really just gonna help my workflow and just make the entire process of editing footage again more enjoyable for me. So I'm done rambling, I'm just stoked. But if you guys did enjoy today's video, will you drop it a thumbs up? That really helps the channel out. If you're new around here, consider hitting that sub button, I'd really appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next video very, very soon. Peace.